Hi everybody and welcome to Knife Ref. Today we're going to be talking about the Bark River Lil Canadian 2016 version. So this is the Bark River Lil Canadian 2016 version, and the reason we call it the 2016 version because there have been a few changes for the knife. And let's go through the specs real quick. The knife is 7 inches long. The blade length is 3.2 inches long. The blade thickness is 0.093. It is a convex grind, and the handles are made out of herringbone micarta. And this particular model has some what they call toxic green liners and also natural liners. So let's take a quick look at the build quality of the knife. We got no tool marks on the blade, which is nice. It's finished very well. The plunge grind on this particular model is very nicely done. It's even. And you know, if there's anything with Bark River knives is their plunge grinds. With Bark River, the plunge grinds are it's like getting a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. This one happens to be very well done. But if there's anything that most of the knives that I've seen from Bark River miss, it's right here at the plunge grind. And this one is done very well, so no problems there. The tip is also finished very well. The angles are very nice. They're not off, so it's very symmetrical. And then let's look at the transitions of scales to metal. It's done very well. You can't feel anything there. Same thing on the bottom and on the back. The handle material is done very well, very smooth, and on the other side is the same thing. The bolsters, excuse me, not the bolsters, but the pins are done very well, and so is the linear hole. All done very well, very smooth. You can't feel anything. So the overall finish of the knife is done very well. Now, taking a quick look at the ergonomics of this knife, it is a small knife, overall 7 inches, but you can still get a 4-finger grip on the handle, and it's done very nicely. It places your thumb right at a good spot on the spine, and also the finish of the spine is done very well. So there's no, you're not going to get any kind of uncomfortable sharp edges on the side. So because it is a 90-degree spine, but it's not sharpened at each edge, so it's not uncomfortable. And given that if you take a 4-finger grip, it's naturally going to put your finger over the blade, and it's not uncomfortable to do that even if you take a strong grip. So very nice, very nicely done on that side. And also the scales on this particular model, they're grooved, and for some people, and that's some of the cons of this particular knife, not just this one, but some of the other sizes of the Canadian knife, is that people say that sometimes their fingers don't fit the grooves, and that's a problem for the handle. On my particular hands, on this handle, the grooves are not very thick. They're very, very minor as opposed to some of the other models. So my fingers fit very well, and I don't have a problem with it, but that's going to depend pretty much on your hand size and maybe how you actually are gripping the knife. But if you take a standard grip, you're not going to have a problem. My hands are large size, and I imagine maybe if your hands were a little smaller, maybe you might kind of creep into the handle a little shorter and might have a problem with these little bumps over here, finger grooves. So that's kind of a gamble, and I decided just to give it a try because I never had one of these before, and it's worked out for me. But like I said, that's something that you're going to have to make a decision when you purchase this knife, if this is going to be an issue for you or not. So this knife is 7 inches overall, fairly small, and with a blade length of just over 3 inches. So easy to carry, easy to handle. Let's take a quick look at the weight of the knife. And we're getting about 2.5 ounces. So definitely a very nice size and weight ratio for this knife. It's very comfortable in the hand, easy to handle. So for 2.5 ounces in this size knife, I think it's perfect, easy to carry. Now this knife comes with a leather sheath like most of the Bark River knives, and this particular one is a little bit different, and it's very plain. There's not much to it, but what I like about this sheath is that it doesn't have a big footprint, especially for a small knife. I don't know if you've ever gotten knives, either Kydex or leather, where you have a small knife, but the sheath itself it's proportionally huge compared to the knife, and you wind up having a big package. This is very small, very easy to carry, and the profile is very small. So it's nice to have a small knife with a proportioned sheath that you don't have a monster leather sheath compared to having a small knife. Now the fit of the knife and sheath is very good, and it sits fairly deep, so that's kind of nice. And the retention is also very nice, so it's not going to come out. And overall package, I think the whole thing it rides very well. Very nice package. Now the sheath itself is a little bit darker than normal because I treated it with Ergonomics, and it darkens the leather just a little bit, but to me it actually makes it more appealing. It gives it a nicer, darker, richer color to the leather. Now if you've been following Bark River for a while, you might notice a trend that with their knives, what they're doing, and they did it especially with this knife, they're actually thinning the stock. They're making the stock thinner than the other small Canadians or little Canadians. And actually I think that's a plus, because one thing, it actually gets rid of some of the unneeded weight for a knife this size, and also by having a thinner stock, with a knife like this, basically you're just going to be doing a lot of slicing, or I think for me that's what I would use it for. If I'm hiking with this thing, basically just some maybe cordage cutting, food prep, or anything that you may be slicing. So it comes from the factory fairly sharp, and actually, since it is quite a thin stock for a Bark River knife, it actually slices really easily. So I'm really happy that they're doing that, because some of their small knives that they make, it's a nice design, but their stock is just too thick for the size knife. And if you notice, well, at least with this knife and some of the new knives that they're coming out, they're actually, even with the Aurora, which is it's a big knife, they're coming out with the Aurora too, and it's even a bigger knife than the Aurora, and that's going to be actually thinner than the original. So I think it's a nice trend for those guys to start making some of their knives a little thinner than they used to, especially for smaller knives. So for the pros and cons of this knife, I think it's got quite a few pros. For me, it's nice that it's lightweight, small enough. 7 inches is a nice size for me. And like I said, my main use for these knives is when I'm hiking out on the trail, and it can do a lot of the things that I required. So it's a lightweight knife, it's thin stock, so it's a really nice slicer, and the leather sheath that they actually provided with it is very nice, because it's small footprint and really carries well for the whole package. It's very small, not very big. So a lot of pluses for this knife. The one thing that I would say maybe is, well, I wouldn't call it a con. Maybe just I wish they would have done something a little different. Is on the finger grooves, the edges over here, they're a little bit squared off. They're not really very well rounded. So you can actually feel a little bit of It's not a painful feeling or anything like that, don't get me wrong, but basically what it is that you don't feel a round transition between one side and the bottom, from the sides and the bottom. It's a little bit squared off, so not a huge deal, but I think if they did that, at least for me, I couldn't find anything wrong with this knife. It's really a great design and a pleasure to carry, and definitely a nice little workhorse. So if I had to pick anything, and that's a little bit nitpicking, it would be just the way that they're squared off over here a little bit. And it's not sharp, but you can actually feel that it is a little bit square. Other than that, you know, perfect. I don't have any other complaints. So for my overview of the knife is, if you're looking for a small knife that is easy to carry, lightweight, with, you know, like I said, a nice small sheath that can actually pair up pretty well with the knife, very well proportioned with the knife, and like I said, as a whole package is easy to carry, this would be a very nice option that you might want to check out. It's definitely going in the right direction for this model, the Lil Canadian, because of the thinner stock and, you know, making the knife a little bit lighter. So overall, I think this is going to be a great knife if you're looking for something that's you know, small, easy to carry to help you out on the trail. I say give this one a look. So again, this is the Bark River Lil Canadian and CPM 3V, and it's the 2016 model. Thanks for joining me, and I'll catch you next time.